Okay, so thank you very much, Andrew. And so now we are entering week 95 of our IGU Summit series, Indigenous Global Unity Summit, that we have been doing every week for the past 95 weeks as we are moving forward. I do, as always, like to start these sessions by saying a land acknowledgement. Very important to say as we acknowledge those who are with us. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources. We're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on here in the Greater Toronto area is the traditional territory of many nations on the land known in Kanlenkeha as Tikaranto, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Wendat, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, along with the Anishinaabe, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on here is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 and is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. We also acknowledge the Two-Row Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Six Nations of the Tikaranto watershed and the settlers, an agreement that bound them to work together but to develop their societies in parallel on these shared lands. In our role as settlers and displaced people on this land, we share the responsibility of challenging and disrupting colonial systems that enact violence upon the land and stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. We'd like to thank the Indigenous peoples of these lands, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So with that opening, I do also like to say now to all our friends in Africa, Asante Sana, or thank you very much in Swahili. Thank you for joining us today for this IGU Summit event. I do also like to say Sawubona, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles. I see your ancestors as well, because interconnectedness does not end with two people who are greeting each other. It extends to include the ancestors, because all beings and Mother Nature are interconnected, and there is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. So today is March 30th, 2023. Again, week 95 of our IGU Summit series. Unfortunately, this morning, I got a message from our guest speaker, Sosal Mahamat. He said, "Good morning, sir. Sorry, I just received an emergency call and I'm on my way traveling. And to do a perfect presentation, I need a shift for the next date of the presentation. Thank you for your understanding." However, as always, I will start with an introduction of who I am and who we are and what we do. So I have added one additional slide to the presentation this week, but I do like to say the overall purpose of UnityNet is to establish a global network of community Unity Garden learning centers where hybrid exchange programs and practicum learning will be delivered by the members of UnityNet's partners in all of our chapters around the world, and to all members of the GP4RD, which is the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development, which we also call our Learning Partnership for Global Unity. So the learning programs are intended to be delivered through the Global Sister Schools program in partnership with the members of the Global Unity Network, or UnityNet. We call it, or we do this through our twins, our local INAP collaborative communities, through the CTP program of Science for Peace Drawdown Marco, and our Community Climate Action Hub, which is a goal of building holistic regenerative climate smart communities here in the Greater Toronto bioregion in support of the UnityNet AHIABGA project of globalization of global goals and the establishment of a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So just let me open up the chat window here as well, and I will be putting some information into the chat as we move forward. The first bit of information is about our collaborative exchange program, CEP of Drawdown Markham, as well in support of this Indigenous Global Unity Summit and the Indigenous Global Unity Network. Now, I have this new slide, which indicates for all the things that we would like to do, we would like to build a national network of researchers, developers, and educators for the globalization of the global goals, with priority actions focused on regenerative development and regenerative living and lifestyles, which includes regenerative infrastructure and regenerative finance. For us here in UnityNet Canada and UnityNet Ontario, both the Greater Toronto and Toronto area and the Ottawa Valley, the city of Ottawa being the capital of our country and where national decisions are made, where we are also going to be a very important hubs of activity, especially around the delivery of the local solutions for achieving, first of all, sustainable energy for all, and regenerative housing and shelters and habitats for all, as well as regenerative food for all, through our local partnership ecosystem, thus helping to demonstrate and achieve holistic, healthy communities for all. So the specific areas of focus for UnityNet are renewable energy, along with sustainable agriculture and regenerative ag and farming, and food production grown the regenerative climate smart way, along with regenerative water management and regenerative waste management, these circular economy solutions, for the purpose of economic growth and expansion, but specifically done the regenerative climate smart way, along with supporting integrated localized habitat solutions for regenerative holistic living, learning, and lifestyle developments or redevelopments that help to achieve a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Because within such a development paradigm, it should be possible to continue to achieve economic growth at the same time as we repair our planet, as we continue along the pathway of figuring out how to create a robust and resilient and equitable economic system that does not require continuous and expanding extraction and degradation of ecosystems to survive, and to be both stable and sustainable and leave no one behind. So this is the big challenge of our UnityNet partners. So what we do in UnityNet through our Drawdown Markham Youth Task Force, and done through the work of UnityNet International and our partners in UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, is to establish these localized INAB collaborative, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that are intended to empower our local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs in each one of our own local communities. Our overarching goal is to establish a global network of local INAB collaboratives. The humanitarian entrepreneurs who are members of these INAB collaboratives, including the GP4RD members, are the ones who will also deliver the practical local regenerative solutions for achieving these global goals, those SDGs today. They'll do that locally, or as we say, globally. The purpose of the INAB collaboratives is not only to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, but also to help organize the ongoing community engagement, as well as delivering the education and training in the local solutions that are required for local people to understand how to create and run things locally in their own local communities in order to become more resilient, self-sufficient, and decolonized, to better adapt to climate change, to boost their local economies, to ensure equity, and also to ensure that nobody is being left behind in their own local communities. The INAB collaboratives also ensure transparency and accountability and are the vehicle through which we can demonstrate regenerative finance, where a portion of the monies that are spent in the community will stay in the community, but where a portion of the productive profits from the local regenerative community enterprises are also used to help others in their own local watersheds and bioregions. This is done in order to ensure that nobody is being left behind, and where some of those funds could also be used to help others around the world, and to ensure that all local communities can become self-sufficient and resilient and regenerative. Our ultimate purpose is to ensure that every local community in the UnityNet network has an INAB collaborative and a cooperative humanitarian enterprise network that is not only localizing the global goals, but is also helping their local communities achieve a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Our goal is that by 2030, it will be recognized by those who finance projects and infrastructure, or provide things like insurance products or reinsurance for other insurance companies, that doing a local project or infrastructure development in any local community anywhere on earth should not get the financing until there is an active and functional INAB collaborative in that local community, made up of the community members and their allies globally. So my name is Lloyd Halferty, co-founder of UnityNet International, which is known as Uni, as a hybrid holistic practicum learning system management company based here in Canada that also assists with community partnership building locally and globally, or as we like to say, globally, by leveraging a unique set of community engagement activities developed in partnership with the members of the Ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. I'm also the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and a Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme University, which is headquartered in Manhattan, New York, in the US. I'm located in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed, specifically the German Mills Creek sub-watershed, which drains into Lake Ontario, the lowest and last of the North American Great Lakes in the Great Lakes Basin of the Greater Toronto Bioregion, or GTB, in southern Ontario, Canada, North America, also known as Turtle Island. Energyme University is a private 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York City, a member of the UN Global Compact, and a UN academic impact member and partner. We are a virtual university that was created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. So Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into those communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, along with systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energyme University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all of the various integrated solutions for achieving these closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So today, I'd like to also go into more details about what it is that Energyme University expects to happen as we begin to assist with projects in local communities anywhere in the world where people might wish to do them. I wanted to remind our audience that Energyme University is a charitable organization, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. As such, we do not and legally cannot profit from our projects, aside from covering the costs of operating and hiring the people we need to create the projects within our project partners. We're not looking to compete or compensate anyone for land or an opportunity to help them create a community project that in the end they will own. We can help to provide the facility construction support and of course the education and the training expertise, along with the project development support that will allow your community members and local entrepreneurs to create the solutions required, whether it's in Canada or in Africa or anywhere else in the world. We do not, however, intend to pay for that opportunity. We can also help your partners find money for your own local project if you are willing to put up the land and find some of the financing on your end as well. As of this moment, we do not know of any other organizations or efforts other than some international agencies that we are aware of that will come in and gift such an effort to a school or a community or a country outright. And we all know that the UN financing goes through the governments, is top down, and tends to be corrupted in many ways. But there needs to be buy-in and material participation on the part of the partner for charitable organizations and philanthropic entities to contribute to completing the funding and implementing any local projects. This is particularly true if the project is designed for a school or other private organization and is not direct funding to a government of your country. Our work also includes partnerships with the UNDP, and we are getting the participation of the countries directly. We are also able to look for matching funding in the US, where Energym University is incorporated, especially from groups who are interested in supporting such projects. But if those entities don't see material buy-in from the partners who are entering into that partnership in places like Africa or the indigenous communities, they will have no interest in funding such an effort, with the mindset being, if the partner isn't willing to contribute to a local solution, they must not be committed to the project. Anyone we work with puts up the land. After all, they will own the local projects when they are completed. We do not and will not pay our partners for something our partners will ultimately own themselves. We are here to help and provide all of the project direction and implementation expertise for these essential projects. And we are committed to seeing them done all over the world. But we need partners who are at least equally committed to the success of these projects in their own local communities. The benefit of the Energym University programs is that any community that builds them will also have a local training center that will regularly graduate the next generation of high-tech farmers. And we can also extend our efforts into retraining farmers throughout the country and the communities that surround it. But the key is community involvement, which may include a combination of local organizations, schools, and government agencies, which is one of the main reasons why UnityNet is building our empowerment networks locally all around the world. So I will put in some additional contact information for myself into the chat. I'm seeing one person on the line with us, Cleveland Joseph. I'm hoping as well that they will be able to put in their own contact information so that we can follow up as well with them. In addition, in the chat, which you can save by pressing the three little dots at the bottom of your screen on the Zoom window, I am putting in links so that not only you can contact us, but also you can contact, for instance, our Science for Peace Climate Smart Food program and network, as well as the consulting organizations that are developing these programs. So again, in the chat, there are a number of links. As I move forward, this is now an updated calendar. It has a couple more events on it. I do like to say about the events that are coming up. We have this, what we call UnityNet Living Read calendar. This is something that I have been creating for 2023 based on the events that we did last year. This reflects our Drawdown Markham and UnityNet GTA plan for 2023. The calendar revolves around 5 key community engagement events in April, May, June, August, and October. The 5 events include UNDRIP Day on Earth Day, which is Saturday, April 22nd, now about 3 weeks away. An update for today, I did hear from Dr. Jose Echeverry at York University, and he stated that yes, we can very likely do our UnityNet drumming ceremony during his event with the Toronto Black Farmers in Regent Park, Toronto, instead of at Markham City Hall. hopefully with some Indigenous peoples present as well. So Jose and his team will be meeting this Friday, tomorrow, to discuss and arrange it. I've also asked Jose, since he is so busy, if it might be possible to have someone from his team assigned to ours, whomever is organizing the event in Toronto, to be our liaison for coordinating of the events. I've also suggested that if Indigenous people are present at this Earth Day event in Regent Park, that they may wish to take a leadership role in the ceremonies, especially the drumming and the smudging. However, we can work this all out over the next 3 weeks or so. The next event in our calendar following this drumming ceremony is World Biodiversity Day on Sunday, May 22nd. This is fairly new. We've not done it before, but you can see it in our calendar in the middle in bright green. Our Abraham Project Tree Planting Day is on Monday, June 5th, 2023 at the World Environment Day. The fourth event we'll do is International Youth Day on Saturday, August 12th, where we do our globally coordinated Bubble Fun festivals during our UnityNet Community Unity Weeks. And the final day is the Youth Peace Weeks in October, which starts on Global Cooperation Day, which is Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. This is the date of our Ubuntu Summit, the online virtual event that also launches not just Youth Peace Weeks, but also the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum, which is our primary hybrid learning week program that takes place until Monday, October 16th, which is World Food Day. You'll also notice that I added Somos Avalon Maya, which is a spiritual event that takes place with the Maya in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, every Sunday at 11:11 a.m. Eastern Time. These events are shown in pink on the calendar. As Mitch Gold has said to me earlier this month, we are looking at how to connect the two energies of the eagle and the condor. So one last thing that I wanted to mention is that on Tuesday, January 17th, as you see in our calendar in orange, we had our first Drawdown Markham virtual event. At that event, we discussed establishing our PodNet GTA Enterprise Network, which will also support the 25 INAP collaboratives that we intend to create here in the Greater Toronto Area. As mentioned in past weeks here in Markham in the Greater Toronto Area, we'll be doing everything through those INAP collaboratives, including demonstrating regenerative gardens and forests and farms and buildings and kitchens, and also regenerative finance. And of course, we'll also be empowering our humanitarian entrepreneurs who are globalizing the global goals in each one of our own local communities. So I ask again, please join us wherever you are in the world. This is the essence of our global Unity Network, our network of networks, which consists of the local and localized multi-stakeholder partnerships, those interfaith neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives who are changing the paradigm of development globally, one local community at a time. As I also mentioned for the past few weeks, there are other things to consider because the FAO came out with their newsletter in January. It noted that 2023 is the International Year of Millets. So this is something to consider. In fact, I had read recently that the people at UnityNet India are very much focused on the millets issue and surrounding their programs around that international year. Top 15 was also mentioned, especially around the adoption of the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So this is important because this also established a set of global biodiversity goals. So these are new, just from this past December, from the big biodiversity meeting that was held in Montreal with the Secretariat actually from China. But they didn't have that meeting in China because of COVID. So the new set of goals should be what we are truly supporting, and not only the global goals or the SDGs. These global biodiversity goals need to be translated into national goals in every country, considering each country's circumstances and priorities. So I'll be putting details into the chat, but what is important is the 2023 SDG Summit, the high-level political forum on sustainable development that will be held under the auspices of the General Assembly and will be convened on the 20th or the 19th and 20th of September 2023 during the UN General Assembly High-Level Week, which with heads of states and government, where they gather at the UN headquarters in New York to follow up and review the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So this has also been added to the calendar. I'm hopeful that we'll have some presence at that event, possibly in collaboration with our partners in Manhattan, such as Energime University and We the World. So again, information can be found in the chat about the 2023 SDG Summit, and from the FAO newsletter, some additional information about things like the International Plant Protection Convention, and where there is funding, especially for implementing these solutions to achieving regenerative infrastructure and communities. So we're also hoping, of course, as Andrew likes to say all the time to us as well, that we should be working with the not just UNESCO and not just the UN, but also the I don't remember right now, the Cities Initiative of the UN to move forward on that. So as we move forward with our legacy projects here in Markham, we've already begun having local conversations with the people of the 7th Generation Initiative. Right now, our interaction with the 7th Gen Initiative is via Dr. Jose Echeverry, who is the leader of the 7th Generation GTB team here in Markham. We hope that we can meet with the founders, Brian Pupa and Susan Bozak as well. We also hope to soon have conversations with Charles Hopkins, UNESCO Chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability at York University in the near future. And what I have done recently is to discuss and encourage our partners in Africa to begin a letter writing campaign for Charles Hopkins to encourage him to take a look at our network and what we are doing. Because as we learned on Tuesday, March 21st, during our Drawdown Markham Zoom meeting delivered by Leslie Adams, the Biodiversity and Sustainable Development Goals campaigner, sorry, from the Sierra Club Canada Foundation, it is UNESCO that is doing the work of renewal of the SDGs ahead of 2030, where she noted that the UNDP development program already has a lot in there already. As I noted before, we hope soon also to have a conversation with the founders and leaders of the Maple Leaf Center for Action on Food Security. This is important because in 2021, Maple Leaf Foods claimed to be the first major carbon neutral company in the world, and has also set an ambitious science-based targets to reduce their carbon emissions even further. Specifically, Maple Leaf Foods has already started their investments in regenerative agriculture, representing a significant industry milestone in their words. Today, I have also included in the chat, or I will include, a link to the YouTube video by Michael McCain, President and CEO of Maple Leaf Foods, stating their commitment to become what he calls the most sustainable protein company on Earth. So again, in the chat, you'll find a link to the 7th Generation Initiative, along with information about our connection to Dr. Jose Echeverry, Faculty Fellow, the Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change at the Dalela Institute for Global Health Research. You'll also find some information about his own sustainable energy initiative at York University and the International Renewable Energy Academy. There is also information about the UNESCO Chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability and the related Shaping Our Future Together campaign which actually marks the 75th anniversary in 2020 of the UN, which launched the biggest ever global conversation on the role of global cooperation in building the future we want. You'll also find in the chat links to the Ideas Lab of UNESCO. There's an article by Sophie Pauli and Charlene Camille from UNESCO's Future of Learning and Innovation Division with a 2021 report of the International Commission on the Futures of Education called Reimagining Our Futures Together, a new social contract for education, which proposes a vision for the renewal of education, beginning by looking at the present with a long-term view towards 2050, with a shorter version of this Ideas Lab blog post being published in the Commonwealth Education Report 2023, with more links to your vision of education in 2050, websites, along with the Seneca College, which is also in our own community here, and their faculties and schools. Also is a link to the Canadian Sports Institute Ontario's multi-sports park, where we hope to establish a regenerative building with the community in partnership with not just our city, but also our region. Then there's some additional information that I'm posting in the chat this month about the Maple Leaf Center for Action on Food Security, which I put in last month, but some now additional links, especially to mapleleaffoods.com and that video that I mentioned of Michael McCain, President and CEO, who said specifically, we've now committed to invest immediately in high quality projects throughout Canada and the United States that reduce greenhouse gases and bring our net carbon footprint to zero. These projects support green wind energy, recovery of methane gas for energy from landfills, recycling programs to reduce methane emissions, forest protection and enhancement of Indigenous land to ensure species protection, biodiversity, and reforestry. We hope our actions will inspire other companies to see what is not only possible, but urgent. Our company's vision is to be the most sustainable protein company on Earth. So again, these are the words of the CEO of this Maple Leaf Foods. There's also a link to an article, Farmer's Edge welcomes Maple Leaf Foods investment in regenerative agriculture carbon offsets, which again, you can find those links in the chat, along with this initiative by Maple Leaf Foods. So again, today is Thursday, March 30th, 2023. Not a special day in our UN calendar, but the day you see UNDRIP Day coming up in the future. Next Thursday, April 6th as well, is International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. So 1 week from today, the global theme for the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace 2023 is Scoring for People and the Planet. So again, you will find information about the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace in the chat, including the link to UNESCO, which is the United Nations lead agency for physical education. The next big events, I guess, in April are World Health Day on Friday, April 7th. 2023 this year celebrates the WHO's 75th anniversary year. Again, you'll find that information about World Health Day in the chat for those who wish to learn more. And of course, Earth Day, aka International Mother Earth Day, which we call UNDRIP Day on Saturday, April 22nd, which of course is our UnityNet drumming ceremony. You'll just find a very simple link to Earth Day Canada in the chat. But you'll also note a new day added to our calendar, or you may have seen that calendar, where I also added, actually, I can probably go back so people will see, World Creativity and Innovation Day takes place on Friday, April 21st, 2023, which is one day before Earth Day. So World Creativity and Innovation Day actually is a global UN day celebrated on April 21st to raise awareness around the importance of creativity and innovation in problem solving with respect to advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals. The World Creativity and Innovation Day and Creativity and Innovation Week also has its own website and hashtag #IamCreative, and you'll find that information in the chat. It's a worldwide community dedicated to encouraging and empowering everyday creativity in homes, schools, and communities. And it exists to celebrate every creative idea, effort, and the imagination, inspiring it to help everyone live more creative lives. In that web link, you'll also find a way to discover different events in the UN calendar that happen during this creative day and week, and throughout the rest of the year as well. So you'll find the link in the chat, and you'll see the events coming up. The page that I shared, link in the chat for Canada specifically, we have a number of events coming up, including the Design TO Festival, which is or was in January, and then there was the Creative Festival 2023, which took place at the beginning of March. And now coming up at the end of this, or at the end of April as well, is something called Neuroplasticity, Plasticity and Creativity, which is an event that takes place in Toronto. And then throughout the summer, especially in July and August, there are events, including the International Conference on Computational Architecture, Creativity and Design. There's also the International Conference on Innovation, Creativity and Social Psychology, as well as the International Conference on Creativity, Innovation and International Conference on Dance Studies, Culture and Creativity, which again, I'm putting that for people's reference into the chat. Take place either in Ottawa or in Toronto. And coming up later in the year in August is also the International Conference on Scientific Culture or Scientific Couture, Design and Creativity, the International Conference on Tourism, Culture, Creativity and Economy, as well as the ICANN Toronto International Society of Innovation and Advanced Skills, which take place in Montreal and Toronto, respectively. And although the days are not recognized in the UN calendar, there are some fun events that we like to celebrate as well in our personal lives. March daily holidays can be found in the link that can be seen in the chat. Noting that today is Thursday, March 30th, is also known as I Am in Control Day, where the day is commemorated for two reasons. First, to encourage people to take control of their lives. And second, there was an assassination attempt made on the President of the United States on March 30th, 1981. With the president being rushed to surgery on a rainy afternoon, a bullet lodged in his lung. A statement was made. As of now, I am in control here in the White House. This was the words of Secretary of State Alexander Haig. This is also Take a Walk in the Park Day. March 30th every year encourages us to stretch our legs on our favorite trail or at our neighborhood park. The unofficial holiday encourages people to get active and enjoy the physical and mental benefits that come from walking in nature. Health studies have shown that walking for about 30 minutes a day can have huge health benefits. So we encourage everybody to explore the beauty of your parks and the importance of spending time in nature to unwind, relax, and connect with your surroundings. Put on your most comfortable shoes and take a stroll along and through the local parks. A request that a friend accompany you. Today also is National Doctors Day. This holiday first started in 1933 in Weiner, Georgia. And since then, it's been honored every year on March 30th, which was the first anniversary of a doctor using either ether anesthesia by Dr. Crawford W. Long. Today, we continue to celebrate medical advances like these and thank all doctors everywhere who spent so much time and energy mastering their field of expertise. Please also see the information that I will put it into the chat about Dr. Crawford W. Long, an American surgeon and pharmacist, best known for his first use of inhaled sulfuric ether as an anesthetic, which he discovered by performing surgeries on disabled African American slaves that included the amputations of their fingers and toes. So in the chat again, today's I Am in Control Day, Take a Walk in the Park Day as well. Sorry, this is just need to coordinate get my mouse in the right spot so I can copy and paste, as well as National Doctors Day, which you'll find in the chat, along with information about Dr. Crawford W. Long and his work. So we are also still planning to have a discussion primarily with Sir Bailey from Youth Build Charter, Michael Rendler from our C4 group, our Climate Smart Community Construction Collaborative, where we hope to also talk with people like Lynn Crandall, Marcela Oliva, and Isaac Sabat-Kiche about EarthFest, which I believe is also in planning, where we hope to also co-host a hybrid event with our UnityNet, GTA, and PodNet partners in all of our local communities, along with our Wikipod collaborators. But we hope that this event will also spark the imagination of young people, teachers, and their parents and elders who are working with our local learners and our schools here in Markham and York Region in the Greater Toronto bioregion, who are also empowered to take action through the Global Sister Schools program, starting with the planting of the Youth Peace Gardens, where we also hope to work in collaboration with all the members of UnityNet Ontario and Canada, including the co-founder of the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Michael Schur. We'd like us to begin having a conversation about practical reconciliation, starting with the development of a curriculum related to his Indigenous Unity flag. Specifically, we do want to establish a legacy education project, starting with doing a solidarity project with Indigenous peoples, possibly also with Scouts Canada and Europe, hopefully with more partners like Rotary International, as they seek to implement an Indigenous Unity badge for the people who are participating in their programs. We are hoping to partner with local schools, especially schools of the arts and schools of architecture, each in our own local communities across our network of networks, where we can host a series of virtual and in-person charrettes, help Michael and the Scouts come up with that curriculum, hopefully over the next few months, where the curriculum helps young people to understand that every country has their own Indigenous peoples, and that we must become compassionate members of a global community of humans as an essential part of a process of real reconciliation, not just with ourselves, but with the land. The key people we have for these projects are the members of the Unity Learning Network and its related sub-networks and nodes, along with the Global Sister Schools program and any others who may wish to contribute to this process and the efforts. I did want to say as well, I've had a fairly good conversation following up with Michael Schur. He'd also like to create a new program with his badge, if it's possible, to actually have the athletes who are competing in the Paris 2024 Olympics using his badge on their shirt sleeves, perhaps also with the Indigenous Unity flag on one shoulder and the UnityNet star logo on the other. So that's something I'm hoping to discuss with people like Lisa and Nice, as well as our friend Michael. So as we move forward, I do want to mention again, UNDRIP Day 2023, this is our Earth Day drumming at City Halls. So this event is where we'll do drumming, intended to be done at City Halls with Indigenous peoples. This year is more than likely we will do it down in Toronto, as mentioned earlier, with York University and their partners, the Toronto Black Farmers. So this is the day we also engage with students in local schools, start planning and building, so they can start planning and building their own local youth peace gardens at their schools or in their communities and with the community partners. We also use this event to promote the rest of our Drawdown Markham events, including the IGU summits that we're having like today and the networks, and start to get young people in schools and teachers and their parents and grandparents from Markham and York region and the Greater Toronto area engaged in this conversation that we're having in UnityNet, where we engage the schools and the teachers and their families potentially in a competition and a related learning program to design their own bubble fun machines. Our goal is to have a few working bubble fun machines by August, created by some entrepreneurial students from some of these local high schools. So again, you'll find information about our UNDRIP Day in the chat, link to the Eventbrite page specifically. And so there is a way for you to participate in this Earth Day event, which we also call UNDRIP Day now. So I haven't made the logo for this one yet. I had spent some time this week producing that additional page, the slide number 2 of this presentation, along with doing, of course, many other things. But this follows. I will be creating this Eventbrite page fairly soon. We do have a link, but it is not live yet. You'll find that World Biodiversity Day link in the chat. So it's on this day, which is 2 weeks ahead of our Abraham Project World Environment Day, June 5th, tree planting event, where we bring together all of the local students and their parents and families, get them participating in planning their youth peace garden ceremonies. We do go over on this day, World Biodiversity Day, things like logistics, who to invite, drafting an invitation letter, issuing a press release. We'll do an outdoor event. Hopefully it won't be raining. We'll do it in one of our local parks with our local council member and others in the community like Rotary Markham. We want to do it here, ideally in the city of Markham, at this Leechcroft Park, this 8-acre park, which has shelters and a splash pad, where we'll hopefully be able to do our Bubble Fun Festival event in August. I will also create the Eventbrite page for World Biodiversity Day, as shown in the chat. The invitation will read something like how to design and build a productive food garden that maximizes nutrition and maximizes the potential to protect and restore biodiversity within your own bioregion and watersheds. So this, again, UnityNet South Markham Community Food Security Network as another partner of these events that we are doing here in the city of Markham through Drawdown Markham, which you'll find links in the chat, and our related Markham Climate Smart Gardens Network, which had been created originally for the establishment of a set of community vegetable gardens, which was an original conversation with our colleague Maria, who's from the Philippines and is now there at this time, putting together a network of people on that set of islands in the Pacific. So our next event is Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremony on World Environment Day. So this takes place on Monday, June 5th. This is where we plant the trees of peace and reconciliation, raise the Indigenous unity flags in celebration and ceremony. Interestingly enough, it seems that Michael Scher from the Indigenous Global Unity Network, designer of the Indigenous Unity flag seems a bit more open to having conversations with some of our partners, like Stephanie. So he may even be open to having us display and raise Indigenous Unity flag. It will be something that we need to talk to Michael about. So at the Youth Peace Gardens, with the young people in the local communities, we establish at their schools and the rest of the community. It's on this day we create the INAB collaboratives, our local empowerment networks, for the humanitarian entrepreneurs in our local communities, with the INAB collaborative entities forming the backbone of our network of networks. So again, World Environment Day, you'll find that information in the chat. Those who may wish to know more. And then International Coordinated Bubble Fun Festivals, again in August. So this is the date of our Bubble Fun Festivals. We want this date to be open in people's calendar so we can begin to celebrate our diversity as localized communities of equals in our own local communities, coordinated globally. So we celebrate together in a hybrid event that is local and global through virtual sharing, where each one of us human beings in our local communities recognize those around the world who are also localizing the global goals through the development of these partnerships in their local communities, where each of us helps to ensure that our own local humanitarian entrepreneurs are empowered by the members of our INAB collaboratives locally in our own local bioregions. So this event, again, takes place during what we call Indigenous Unity Weeks, which starts on International Day of Indigenous Peoples, which is August 9th, and that goes through to International Youth Day, August 12th, where we'll have the actual Bubble Fun Festival, and ending on World Humanitarian Day, August 19th. So there are a number of events that we could potentially do during those International Youth Day events where we celebrate our diversity. As well, we have our Youth Peace Weeks from Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, to World Food Day, October 16th. So it's during these Youth Peace Weeks where we'll do some edutainment programs with both in-person events here in the city of Markham, in the region of York, and from across Ontario and Canada, but especially from the Rouge and Don watersheds of the Great Lakes Basin of Turtle Island, done in partnership with the members of our own local communities, including the schools and the Indigenous people here in the greater Toronto bioregion. We'll also work with schools like York University and Seneca College, and our local schools and teachers from the Catholic and secular school boards. We'll also seek to work with our UnityNet members from Drawdown Markham and our partnerships, especially as we create these local INAB collaboratives here in the GTA, where we'll seek to create at least 5 of but as many as 25 of these local empowerment networks established in 2023 and over the next few years, with at least 3 by the end of 2023, in Markham, Vaughan, and Richmond Hill, that being our goal. So the INAB Collaborative Empowerment Networks for our local young people and humanitarian entrepreneurs, we're localizing the global goals here in Markham, in the Greater Toronto, Ontario, Canada area, in the Great Lakes Basin of Lake Ontario, Turtle Island, will come together with UnityNet GTA and Drawdown Markham, along with UnityNet Ontario and Canada. And if you are living in any other part of the country, or even in another country or on another continent like Africa, we do invite you to join our UnityNet CTP program so we can coordinate our efforts and activities, partner with your own local community through our local INAB collaborative teams. So again, you'll find information in the chat about Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, and World Food Day, October 16th, the 2 events that are important during this Youth Peace Week in October. So the other event that we'd like to do is the Sunlight Spectacle Hybrid Edutainment event on October 14th. During the annular eclipse that will happen and be visible from the US and then throughout Mexico and Central America, down to South America ending in Brazil. This final event, I'm hopeful we'll do this year, the Sunlight Spectacle 2023, follows the solar eclipse, takes place from October 14th, starting at 5 in Dune City, Oregon, where it's visible throughout the northeast corner of California down to Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil. So during this event, this Sunlight Spectacle, we do the edutainment projects and events, send messages of unity, peace, hope, self-reliance, sovereignty, sustainability, forgiveness, and regeneration of our planet and society. With the messages we send out during these events, not only being about jobs and the economy, because the education and training that we're delivering through the UnityNet learning infrastructure is intended to uplift people with dignity, where the process and results of the learning is all about what we call practical reconciliation and the globalization of the global goals. Again, you'll find information about Sunlight Spectacle 2023, the actual path of that eclipse that is happening this year. I do also want to state that I was also designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles. I do have a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. So as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and activists, we're seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities establish these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives, the INAB collaboratives, come together and pledge to support all of these local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are globalizing the global goals, starting with the SDGs, while also seeking ways to leave no one behind. Again, you'll find information about this AHIABGA Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors in the chat. I do also like to give recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular, Andrew Networks, this our door opening network of the Global Unity Network of Networks, or UnityNet, who's hosting these weekly Thursday Zoom calls, of which we are committed to take place through December 2023. Andrew is also hosting additional events like those Youth Peace Week events and our Drawdown Market monthly events as well. So Andrew Networks promotional support services can also rebroadcast any production-ready presentations and other citizen media with the theme of localization, re-indigenization, resilience, and the local implementation of the SDGs on their AHIABGA domain, which is being redirected to a number of other social media sites like UCIT-TV and others, where Andrew Networks is a brand and domain name owned by ParXTC Export Trading Company, comprising the social media channels, including TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many others. Andrew Networks is not only our primary sponsor supporting the promotional ecosystem for this UnityNet initiative, this Indigenous Global Unity Summit, which continues again till December. Andrew is also our Yes, Yes, Yes partner. He's helping to open doors so that members of our network are able to discover their inner selves and passions, where Andrew Networks is working with the people who occupy these nodes of our global unity network, so they can come together with the people of the network, acting like a net to support the dreams of our members, so they can leverage their passions, transform their visions of a better future for themselves and their communities into a reality that makes sense for themselves and their communities, however they might define what that better future is collectively, as they seek to work together in partnership at the local level and leave no one behind. So again, you'll find that information about Andrew Networks in the chat, along with some information about Andrew himself and ways to connect with him. Again, I want to mention the INAB collaboratives. These are being established at the local level, where we're leveraging our process of community engagement. The community engagement done through the Trees of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting and flag raising ceremonies, followed by ongoing community engagement and interaction through regularly scheduled events throughout the year, including the coordinated bubble fun festivals and sports and dancing and arts, done in collaboration with the local INAB collaborative members. The CTP program for twinning the community activities like community organized tree planting and local regenerative and public community infrastructure development projects and events. The Tea Diplomacy Initiative, which we didn't do this year yet, but these are in-person and virtual community conversations on topics like peace, regeneration, reconciliation, and forgiveness. The Dream Boards Initiative, also done in collaboration with .C4 group members and others, along with identification of and engagement with local talent, artists, and creative people in the Orange economy for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, especially as they promote through their art the globalization of the global goals and the achievement of a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind, especially during any one of our sunlight spectacle and other edutainment events that may be done throughout the year in the context of these climate smart gardens and forests and the climate smart kitchens and the Wheel of Life farms and the CFATs, what we call the CSAP centers, also known as Spark Learning Centers or Climate Smart Learning Centers. So again, you'll find links to the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting discussion group along with the Unity Arts Network, which is quite important, as well as a link to the International Bubble Fun Festivals WhatsApp chat group and related networks, especially the Bubble Fun Sports International Network. And you'll also find a link to the Greater Unity Network management team and supporters, which were the first to be established of the Global Unity Network as it has now become. You'll also find a link to the CTP program for twinning our communities together as we do these projects here. We're hoping that people around the world will also be able to do their own local projects, and that financing will eventually be available for all to be able to do these local community garden learning centers in their own local communities. So I mentioned before the INAB collaborative details. So UnityNet International is focused on what we call values-driven digital and community transformation. So we do this first by creating these community partnerships for the purpose of facilitating the creation of community-based cooperative humanitarian enterprise teams consisting of young people and families in our local communities worldwide who are seeking to implement local regenerative solutions for achieving these global goals, starting, of course, with these Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The second thing we do is help to facilitate the local establishment of regenerative community Unity Garden learning hub spaces in all of our local communities. So the community Unity Gardens or Unity Hubs are places for educating and training young people and families in all of these local communities to become localized, regenerative, climate smart, humanitarian food producer entrepreneurs who will be delivering local solutions for food and climate and peace and social justice using the latest in controlled environment regenerative production solutions that can be integrated into any type of communities, whether urban, suburban, or rural, along with leveraging a number of different digitally integrated social and business tools that facilitate both collaboration within the local communities as well as globally, along with facilitating local income generation for the local community members of our network so they can become more resilient and begin to adapt to the changing global climate that is also affecting their own local watersheds and ability to produce abundance from their local productive resources, including the healthy soils, clean water, and renewable energy. If I have time today, considering we do not have our guest speaker, I'd like to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of what we're planning to do in our own local community here in Markham as we establish our Global Unity Network I give the example of the city of Markham. We may actually end up doing this in the city of Toronto first, but those are ongoing conversations, especially with our own partner here through York University. So as we have our event down in Toronto, we may establish an INAP collaborative in the watershed. It is actually the same watershed we are here. It is the Don River watershed. So at least in that case, we are in the same river that is flowing from where I live down to Lake Ontario. And so these watersheds will be connected. We'll create the INAP collaboratives initially, perhaps not east-west, but north-south. So again, the example that I'm giving is for Markham. So this UnityNet partnership model, based on developing partnerships across 7 different sectors of our local communities, with the 8 partners in total, with the last partner being Indigenous communities. That's the international exchanges will be led by the schools, the universities, the college, the school boards, working in partnership between the educators through our Global Sister Schools program, but not exclusively. The types of exchanges that we'd like to do can also include between, for instance, healthcare practitioners. And yesterday I actually attended an event called City Age Communitech. It was a Zoom call with City Age, or hosted by City Age, and the focus was tech and health. It was a webinar, took place from 11:30 to 1:30 for 2 hours, where I connected with many health providers across that sector. We're also working closely, hopefully, with the there's an organization here called the I don't remember right now, but they are doctors. They are very concerned about climate change and have their own organization. So we're hoping to partner with them as well. So the exchanges we do, again, healthcare practitioners, emergency managers, various others in our community, partners in other sectors like business and interfaith and civil society, finance, orange economy, both within the settler and the Indigenous communities worldwide, locally and globally, as per our local development pathways and institutions available in our local community. So the model we have is called an Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaborative. It's based on this heptamatrix partnership model developed by Drawdown Markham, where each local INAP collaborative comes together as a co-op and a member of the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development. And their purpose is to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are delivering these local solutions for achieving a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind, but starting in your own local communities. So here I do give the example of this heptamatrix partnership that could be created in the city of Markham here in York Region, in the Greater Toronto or Greater Toronto bioregion, based on the existing local institutions and the entities that include the city of Markham as the governance partner, which will include all the emergency management partners like hospitals and emergency services and fire and ambulance and city maintenance, along with the Markham Board of Trade as the business partner, hopefully including most of the local SMEs and other local businesses, possibly including some multinational corporations and local members of the UN Global Compact. The York Region District and Catholic School Boards and York University, Seneca College, both have campuses here in the city of Markham. These are the key academic partners of the INAP Collaborative, but the academic partnership doesn't exclude any other public or private or online or virtual schools who have offices or employees in the city of Markham. It could also include non-governmental organizations and others like the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority and other partners in education about nature and the local watersheds like local naturalist organizations or others. So the Markham Interfaith or Interchurch Committee for Affordable Housing is an example of our interfaith partner in Markham. The Rotary Club of Markham Sunrise is an example, along with the Lions Club, the YMCA, Scouts Canada, the Air Cadet Service of Canada, all as examples of civil society partners, where we do expect that our primary partner will be Rotary International via Rotary Ontario, the District 770, which includes 55 Rotary clubs in Southern Ontario and nearly 2,000 members. We hope that PACE or Meridian credit unions and the big 5 banks with major offices in Markham will become some of our finance partners for the INAB Collaborative, and will also join our UnityNet finance network as we begin to deploy these regenerative finance systems throughout our network, especially in communities that have established their own local INAB Collaborative cooperatives, which would be the primary way the financing would flow down to the local community organizations that are establishing these cooperative enterprises, implementing the regenerative infrastructure, and executing the UnityNet community engagement events and interventions, and where the Markham Arts Council is an example of the orange economy partner of our Heptamatrix partnership model. This is not the end, because we could also have at least as many partners from the local Indigenous communities, which includes some of the 5 or 6 nations that we state in our land acknowledgement. So this includes representation from the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, where the partnership with Indigenous peoples is represented on this page that you see by the heart at the center of our partnership matrix, the critical 8th partner of the INAB Collaboratives, the stewards of Mother Earth that are critical to our future of human survival on this earth for at least the next 7 generations in the future. Again, you'll find in the chat the links to the City of Markham and New York Region District Catholic School Boards as examples of our partnerships that we'd like to establish here in Markham and the Greater Toronto region, specifically starting in Toronto and in York Region. So I do want to mention as well that we are establishing these INAB collaboratives as a co-op. When we bring all of these partners together during their tree planting and flag raising ceremonies and other local community ceremonies and activities, including formally commemorating and celebrating the establishment of the Youth Peace Gardens on any one of these dates that I've been showing the people in our UnityNet living room calendar, we do ask all of these organizations and institutions that have been invited to these events to participate and form and join a local INAB cooperative business organization. The mandate of the INAB Collaborative is simple. Do your best to empower any and all local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs. Ensure they succeed in their local cooperative enterprises, starting with the establishment of a local community Unity Garden Learning Center or Community Hub, which will deliver the various local goods and services, including local regenerative climate smart foods that ensure that we can implement solutions and achieve these global goals locally, starting with these SDGs in ways that leave no one behind. What is shown in the screen here is also an example of some of the showcase that we've done in the past. When we build these INAB cooperative empowerment networks here in the City of Markham, New York Region, and in Toronto, in the Great Lakes watershed north of Lake Ontario, we're hoping to really engage with our creative people and move forward so that the young people especially are really engaged in these conversations and are learning about these solutions. So I'm going to finish my presentation there today. It's just a little bit over an hour. I guess it's about an hour and 15 minutes. It's been in total. I've been told that we have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, but I will try to open it up at least so Patrick and Cleveland may be able to say a few words before we conclude for today. And what I will do is stop my share. So that we have everybody an opportunity to say a few words if you wish to. Patrick, are you with us? I'm not sure if you're trying to say anything today. I see that you are muted. Or if Cleveland Joseph would like to introduce yourself as well. The main presentation is finished for today, but as we move forward, I'm hoping to engage with everybody who's coming onto our calls so that we can also equally empower all of the members of our network. And I'm hearing silence at this point in time from both Patrick and Cleveland. So again, before we finish, if you wish to save the chat, you just need to press the three little dots in the Zoom window at the bottom, and that will allow you to have a record that includes all of those links to the different websites where you can get additional information about what we are doing on this journey to create our what we call our network of networks, the Global Unity Network. So if there are no other comments today, I will then end the call.
Hi, Lloyd. Hi.
Hey,
Good
hello,
evening
Patrick.
from Malawi.
Yes, yes. Fantastic.
Evening.
Good to hear your voice.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Actually, I was I'm using a laptop gadget, so it is not working now. I'm just using the audio from the laptop, so the voice is very low. I can't understand you very well.
Okay. Well, I can actually hear you fairly well.
Yes.
This is good. I guess you're at home right now. Is that your family in the background that I hear?
Okay.
So we will continue our conversations, Patrick. Of course, I'm seeing now what I would like to do is follow up with you as well regarding that letter writing campaign. I did see the chat yesterday about having a meeting, possibly not tomorrow, but maybe next week on Friday. As I mentioned to you in the chat yesterday, we would like to, I would like to put forward at least the one very critical point that we need to discuss regarding the letter writing campaign, especially to the UNESCO chair in reorienting education for sustainable development here at York University. If we can get a number of letters written to the UNESCO chair, I think we can get his attention, especially if they are coming from Indigenous communities as well as marginalized communities in places like these refugee camps and others across Africa in all the different chapters. So we do need to put together some kind of campaign so that I think that can be a task, something that really can bring together the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora Board of Directors to do something that's really tangible and will make a difference. So Cleveland, are you available to make a few comments and to introduce yourself?
Come again?
Patrick, did you wish to introduce yourself as well so that everybody on our call knows who you are?
Sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. That's too bad about that. I'm asking if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, come again. Right now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Patrick, are you available to introduce yourself?
Wow.
To tell everybody who you are and what you're doing in Africa, in Malawi.
Okay. Yeah, we are only 3 years. So I was like, maybe, yeah, no need to do that. Otherwise, yes, I'll do. I'll do. My name is Patrick Nkoma. I'm from Malawi. Actually, I am also a representative for UnityNet Malawi chapter as a chapter president. And also I also run an organization which we call Trarai Foundation, which is I'm a founder of that organization and also director. Yeah, so that's all about here in Malawi. That's all about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Again, I'd like to ask if Cleveland
thank you, right.
would be equally willing to introduce himself as well. Cleveland Joseph? If not, again, I can just like to say thank you to everybody who has attended today on this Indigenous Global Unity Summit, week 95 now of our IGU Summit series of events. I'd like to welcome you back again next week, week 96. We have different guest speakers every week who are coming on mostly from the Indigenous and marginalized communities in places like Africa. We also have sometimes some higher level guest speakers coming on. But in this week, unfortunately, our guest speaker was unable to be with us. So again, come back next week, next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Toronto, for the Indigenous Global Unity Summit. So thank you all for coming on. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Cleveland, for staying on the line with us until this nearly 1.5 hours of event that we've done today. So again, save the chat if you wish to do so. The 3 small dots at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can do that. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.